your show.
How did I get here?
Welcome to the Shipe Sports Show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Shipe Sports Talk Show. We are back after a week off thanks to the snow. Thank you, Mother Nature. I think we're all tired of the snow. Join always my...
Just gotta turn it down. Let's hit your mute button.
Brad is back in studio, and as we can see, he's a little rusty. So, Brad, welcome back.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
That's all right. It just, confirms that we're actually streaming. So thank you, Brad. Makes me feel good.
Just run a test. That's it.
Joined always by Guillermo.
How's it going?
And also joined by my co-host producer, Uncle Paulie. Uncle Paulie, how you doing today? How's Adrian doing?
That's everything I thought it would be.
Try my rocky voice there. I'm going to start calling you Uncle Paulie from now on.
Oh, God. Please do.
All right, well, there's been a big week in the NFL this week. Today, we're going to go over NFL free agency, the moves, what we think about them, who we think will make the biggest impact. We're also going to discuss the NFL draft. We're going to give you our first 10 picks. And also, after the show today, in the next couple of days, you can go online and look at mine, Guillermo's, and Brad's first-round mock draft. Maybe compare them to what Scheffner or Mache said. So, I just said Adam Scheffner. I meant Mel Kiper.
Good one.
Oh boy. See what happens when you take a week off? All right, let's get right into NFL free agency. The big one, I think, of the week was probably signed today, and that is DeMarco Murray jumping ship, going from the Dallas Cowboys to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, as Redskins fans, Brad and Guillermo, when you heard that he wasn't coming to Dallas, were you all a little happy that you weren't going to have to play him twice a year? Come to find out that you're going to end up playing him twice a year again. So you lose McCoy, but at least you only have to play one of them now twice a year, not both of them anymore. So what are your two thoughts on Murray jumping ship and going to the Eagles? Brad, let's start with you.
Let's see. First of all, it does kind of stink that he stayed in division as a Redskins fan, but I know I would give as much credit to him as I would to that offensive line. So the fear factor that I have with DeMarco Murray is slightly diminished because I know it was such a good team effort between him and that offensive line where, I'm not that afraid of him in particular. It was more of the system that he was in. Now that he's going to Philly, that is still a very good system offensively, and he can be extremely productive in that system. And so it is a little bit tantalizing that he's still in our division, and we do have to see him two times this upcoming season, which is frustrating.
Guillermo, let's go over your thoughts.
I wasn't that worried about it. I mean, coming up, yeah, Cowboys had a great offensive line, no doubt about that. With Martin, new guy there, new rookie, doing unbelievable things. I just feel in Philly he's gonna take a beating, and he's known to be a power rusher, so he's gonna be taking hits. Offensive line's gonna be there, but he's gonna be taking more hits than he did in Dallas. Also, the fact that the play calling and the new system and everything. I mean, he kind of ran it in college. I mean, he has his friend, his quarterback there, Bradford, that he was with in college.
Who I'm sure was part of the recruiting process.
Well, they did say that he was trying to recruit and talk to Chip and everything. But the thing that Murray reached out to Chip, maybe he wanted Bradford as a quarterback, but the system, every 16 seconds running a play. I mean, you're getting older. I mean, look, you saw LaShawn McCoy have trouble breathing as well during the first year of that system. I think it's going to be a little bit harder for Murray. He is a little bit bigger as well. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a different thing. I mean, they're going to use him differently as well.
Well, here's the thing for DeMarco other than Dallas. Here, he has another bet and possibly two running backs that will complement where Ryan Matthews, everyone thought wasn't going to sign, but now it's looking towards that Matthews is still going to sign with the Eagles.
He did.
Yeah. He's probably going to be a solid.
Official?
Yeah.
I mean, I know they said he was thinking, but he hadn't officially put a pen to paper.
Yeah, three-year deal, I believe.
3 year.
Well, look, you have Matthews and you have Darren Sproles. See, DeMarco in Dallas, I mean, you had Randall, but Randall I don't think was a very as good as a back as Sproles or Matthews. He wasn't established. So I feel like DeMarco, he won't have to carry the team on his back. I mean, when he looks tired, they can bring someone else in that is proven like Sproles or Matthews. So it's like DeMarco, I think, is going to be even more effective because he's not going to probably get that 350, carries a year that he's been averaging, in Dallas when he's healthy. But now that he has two bats, they can work DeMarco in first, second down. You bring in Matthews or Sproles, or even do Sproles and Matthews first, second down. You bring DeMarco if you're the 3rd and 1.
That's going to be,
he punches it right in. So
that's going to be a thing. Which combo are you actually going to use more often?
I think all 3 of them are going to be used, and I think they're going to be used effectively. You know, I think with him getting rid of McCoy, Macklin, and Jackson is, you know, those comments by Stephen A. Smith I thought were unnecessary earlier this week. I mean, he almost basically accused.
Specify, Shipe. What exactly do you? What comments specifically?
I mean, he was almost,
that our listeners know.
Well, he came out and said, you know, Chip Kelly, we're getting rid of, you know, he made Chip Kelly seem like a racist, where you know there was no call for that. I mean,
just because he's a white coach and he got rid of 3.
Yeah, when he
black
made that
players,
comments,
right?
he just signed Maxwell. Oh yeah, they also signed Maxwell.
Yeah,
I mean,
they basically got a 2-for-1 with the McCoy deal. They got,
you got Maxwell,
Alonzo, and with the money that they saved, they got Maxwell.
And, you know, I mean, the thing with Chip Kelly is he wants people who can work his system. You know, I think he got rid of Deshaun because him and Deshaun were bumping heads. They weren't really seeing eye to eye. So what do? You get rid of the problem. You get rid of that cancer out of the locker room. McCoy and Macklin, you know, they were doing good in that system, but maybe it wasn't up to where he wanted it to be. Foles probably wasn't the quarterback that he thought he was. I mean, the first year he went 28 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but that's also if you have Deshaun to where, you know, you can't really overthrow Deshaun. I mean, Foles is a good quarterback, but we showed last year he is human. He came down to earth really quickly. So I feel like Bradford, I think, hasn't given that chance to proven that he's an elite quarterback. I mean, he won Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I feel Bradford can, if he can stay healthy, I feel like Bradford can not only run this system, but run it effectively. I mean, this is the type of system he also ran in college a little bit, and he has Murray, so those two know, you know, they know each other's heads probably still from college, you know, who's going to do what and what they like to do. So I think this Eagle team is going to not only win this division, I think they're going to win it by a special margin. I think they'll win it by 2 or 3 games. I don't think it'll come down to the last game of the season. That's my personal opinion. I don't know how you all feel, but I feel like the Eagles are going to win this division for the second time in 3 years. And I think Chip Kelly, you know, when he traded McCoy, everyone was yelling at him. You know, he got rid of Macklin, but now they're calling him a hero there in Philly that he brought over DeMarco. And I feel like, you know, you said this thing about Dallas with the offensive line and everything. They have a great offensive line. And, you know, whoever they bring in is going to run great. But I feel like, you know, with DeMarco, you had that fear factor because he was a proven running back. Now you're bringing a rookie. These other teams are like, all right, they got a rookie in there. Let's go after this rookie. Let's give him some hits. You know, unlike DeMarco, who's proven and knows that he can take hits. So I feel like Dallas is actually going to take a step back from this. I mean, they still have Romo, Witten, Dez, but they won't have a proven running back to run behind that line. So I think that was a big move in the NFC. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to disagree a little bit on that, Shipe. No, they don't have a proven running back, but they have a proven system that works. And Dunbar has been in that system. They have backup running backs who have been in that system for years, who I think can step right in and because that running system is so formidable, can step in and be productive right away. Now you look at DeMarco Murray going into a much higher paced system, that a much more complex offensive system that he's gonna have to understand. You know, it makes sense putting DeMarco right in there. It's like, okay, he was a stud last year. Put him with this offensive system that's fire. But you have to take into consideration the fact that he may take a step back. You know, it may take him time to get comfortable with the system and time to understand exactly what's going on. Because if you look at offensive lines, Phillies compared to Dallas's, it's really not close. You know, that's simply the case. So, you know, I understand DeMarco's power and how much of an athlete he is and how good he can be, but you also have to take in consideration it's a whole new system, you know, a whole new staff that he's working with. There may be, you know, some time to get comfortable and used to that system.
All right, to go a little off topic here, we have some breaking news. Washington Redskins breaking news. The Redskins have announced that they have signed defensive tackle Terrence Knighton to a 1-year deal worth $4 million. So the Redskins got another defensive tackle after already signing 2. Terrence Knighton, who wasn't he was a pretty good defensive tackle for the Broncos. The only problem was I was reading reports before the signing that a lot of teams were concerned that he was out of shape. I mean, you have the whole offseason. I mean, he's a big dude to begin with. I mean, I don't know how much more out of shape. Hope to God it's not another Albert Hainsworth.
Hainsworth was out of shape too.
All over again.
Let's not even say that name.
But you know, good for the Redskins. They have another proven defensive tackle, so good for them. I mean, they're bolstering their defensive line, which, you know, pass rush they were struggling last year, so they're bulking up this year. So
Yeah.
Big time. I like to see that. It kind of, it kind of narrows where you think they're going to now go in the draft, and we'll get to the draft and whatever speculations are.
Let's just hope he makes it out of training camp. I mean, it's 1 year, and anything, it might not happen. They might draft a defensive tackle and everything, and next thing you know, he might be gone.
All right, so let's go into the Nets team that I think made the biggest splash in free agent, which will be, I think it will be a dark horse next year, and that's going to be the New York Football Jets. They go out, they trade for Brandon Marshall, so they finally get a true number one receiver. Now, Decker, they signed him last year, but Decker wasn't really a number one receiver. He's not a guy who could go up and get balls. Brandon Marshall is that guy to where if you throw it up, he can come down with the football. Mm-hmm. They also signed Darrelle Revis yesterday, and today they also signed Antonio Cromartie, which means they brought back the duo of Revis and Cromartie, and this duo was the same duo that took this team to, I believe it was back-to-back
Yep.
AFC championships with Rex
games.
Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan may not be there, but this duo, I'm pretty sure Revis had a say in bringing Cromartie back. I mean, these two were incredible together. Teams in the AFC East are going to have a hard time throwing the ball on them. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see Tom Brady once again go back against Darrelle Revis twice a year. I mean, that was always a fun thing to watch. You have Brandon Marshall. The only problem with this team I see right now is they just traded for Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's a journeyman backup guy, is what they would call in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's a journeyman backup guy. He needs to grow the beard back too. It's pretty nice when he had that. Harvard grad.
Harvard.
The only thing I see them needing is they need a true franchise quarterback. I'm sorry, Geno Smith. You had your 2 years. You couldn't prove in yourself. I mean, if you got benched from Michael Vick, you're not going anywhere. I'm sorry for that. I think if they get Marcus Mariota in the draft, which we'll go to later, I feel like this team could seriously make a run to the playoffs. Even with they made the runs with Mark Sanchez, and that was because of defense. And this team, no matter how bad their offense is, they always have a good defense. They always put up tough fights against their in-division opponent, and that's how you make it to the playoffs. You beat your division teams, So I feel like this team could make a run next year, possibly, maybe not a division title, but maybe make it interesting for where they're going to battle it out with the Bills, who upgraded with McCoy, obviously. The Dolphins, who got Sue. The Patriots made some signings. I mean, everyone in this division upgraded somewhere. I think the only team that took a setback in this whole division was the Patriots. I mean, they lost both their starting cornerbacks. I mean, how's that going to... I mean, they lost... I mean, that's... How do you come back from losing both your starting cornerbacks?
Well, they're losing both their cornerbacks, and they might lose one of their top running backs in Vereen.
No, he's already signed. He already went to the
signed
Jets.
with them? Yeah, see, so they lost Vereen as well.
By the way, I'm a little bitter that they re-signed Devin McCourty because apparently he was getting close to signing with the Titans and his brother Jason.
Jeez, here it is.
Would have been happy about that. It didn't happen, though. But what are your all thoughts right now on the AFC East and how this division could shape up next year? I mean, do you all think the Patriots will still reign supreme to where they're going to dominate, or do you think one of these three teams will, battle it out with them? Brad, let's go with you.
Well, let's answer that question really quickly. You have to look at history, and yes, you have to assume the Patriots are still going to win this division. Now, who's going to give them the biggest battle? That's a good question, because you look at Miami and the acquisition of Sue. That's a big thing. It brings them much more fear factor to that team, and kind of a stronger front seven.
Mention Miami real quick. I didn't mention that they could lose their tight end in Clay.
They could,
and he could go to Buffalo, which gives them another weapon.
Could go to Buffalo.
So I mean, this going to be interesting. But continue.
But just in terms of a fear factor, brings a little bit more of a fear factor to that Miami team. And you look at the Jets. They've made some really, really nice acquisitions. Revis being one of the top corners in the league, Brandon Marshall being one of the top targets in the league. That they've really made some changes to that team that really changes the outlook of that squad. But under Rex Ryan, last year, Rex Ryan is a defensive coordinator turned head coach. He doesn't do offense. We've known that for years. So this is going to be really their first year without having Rex Ryan. And so I'm willing to hit the restart button on Geno Smith. I'm willing to give him another chance in a whole new system with Todd Bowles, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Todd Bowles.
Whole new system with Todd Bowles. With Brandon Marshall and Decker. Let let's see what you can do. We know, of course, their defense is going to be back. It's going to be strong. They're still going to be good defensively. It's just a matter of can Bowles get them playing a little bit better offensively. And I think the Jets are going to be the second best team in the AFC East, but I will still give it to the Patriots. I will say Brady and Belichick still reign supreme. Like you have to.
Another thing I forgot to mention was the Bills also traded for Matt Castle. So we'll see. I mean, he was a product of the system. You saw what happens once he left New England. We saw it didn't go too well, but we'll see what happens there. Guillermo, what are your thoughts on the AFC East now with all these transactions? I mean, that division made the most moves. So
yeah, it did, and I still think the Patriots are going to take the division, no doubt about it. With the Dolphins, Bills, and Jets, they all did some pretty good moves. Or they made some awesome moves in the AFC and in free agency. You got Sue going to Miami. He's going to spark up the defense, which they need because their defense, especially the front four, was kind of bad during like most of the running games that they had. You see guys go up the middle and they just turn around and look like, oh, he already went for the touchdown. You got the Bills, who they lost a key player in Alonzo, but it doesn't change the fact that their corners are still there, their safeties are there. I mean, they got LaShawn McCoy, who can spark them in offense because I believe their defense saved them most of the games last year than their offense. And then I have to agree with Brad with the Jets. Give time to Geno. I mean, we saw him at West Virginia playing. He was good running the system and everything. I just think Todd Bowles needs to give him a perfect system for him to run. I mean, he's got weapons now. He's got a solid number one in Brandon Marshall who he can throw to. He's got Eric Decker who can give him a slant or a nice route to run. And that's pretty much it. And then defense is always going to be there. You already know from Revis and Cromartie how they play, and they've witnessed it before. So the defense is going to be pretty stacked as well. So for them to be in second, I kind of give it to the Bills. I mean, they lost the key middle linebacker, but I think they can pull it off with the Jets and the Dolphins not falling way behind, but maybe like a game or two behind them. And it's going to make an interesting playoff race for them for that division.
Funny thing is, I mean, the AFC East, you really didn't expect anyone to make that many moves there. I mean, but once Sue and all this came out, it's like, whoa, these teams are finally realizing they need to make these big signings in order to challenge the Patriots. You can't make little signings or anything like that. You got to make a splash in order to compete with this team. And, Sue, there's people coming out saying, oh, Albert Haynesworth signed a contract. I think Sue has a better work ethic than Albert Haynesworth. I think Haynesworth was all about the money because even when he was in Tennessee, he had an attitude problem. I mean, he was caught that one game when he stepped on the Dallas players. So I think the Redskins, that was the biggest bust ever.
Sue has a lot more history of that.
That is true, but I think Sue is also a better athlete than him.
Well, I think we can all agree the Redskins have had a terrible history in terms of free agency signings.
Jason Taylor and all this other stuff.
Well, that's why I'm kind of happy that they had
Adam
spent.
Archuleta.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about the Redskins. Let's talk about your guys' team to where, I told you guys before the show, some guy wrote a letter to Chip Kelly saying thank you. The Redskins weren't relevant this year. I mean, it's funny. I mean, people were doing memes with Dan Snyder with like a Hannibal Lecter mask on him because he didn't do anything. I mean, they were just throwing out all these memes at the Redskins, and it's because they finally have a football GM that knows how to win. This guy, I mean, he drafted Richard Sherman, Russell Wilson. I mean, he knows how to win, and that's what he's bringing to the Redskins is a winning cultural. I mean, you guys, like I said, you signed 3 defensive tackles already.
Well, the thing is, he knows what he wants, and he knows what's missing.
He's a scouter.
Yeah.
He knows how to scout players, and that's what you guys. That's what I'm going to see with the Redskins this year. You guys are going to develop players from the draft. No more of these 3rd or 4th rounders are going to be a bust. I mean, I'm sorry, Emerson. I think he's going to end up being a bust. I mean, he took a huge step back last year, but someone like Breland, I mean, he was a gem you all found. I feel like you guys are going to get more of that with Scott McClellan. I think he is a great GM for scouting. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts so far in the Redskins offseason free agency? Guillermo, let's go with you first this time.
I'm actually liking it. I mean, not spending big. We're not going out for those big name players out there. I mean, we could have got like 3 or 4 of them if that's the case and everything. Signing Pea, I think, or Pia, whatever, Steven Pia from Chicago. I think that's a big increase. Re-signing Niles Paul as well is another one. And then that guy, Ricky dude from the Colts. And I think he's gonna give us some good stuff. I can't say his name.
Jean Francois.
Yeah, there you go. I think he's gonna do stuff. The bad call on free agency right now would be Halu. I think losing him will be a big impact on us because he did give us a couple of first downs on third down.
But I think you guys have some good other backups that can fill into that role. I mean, you have some
Fred.
Yeah, you have some solid backups that can fill into that role. And there's still some running backs out there you all could pick up.
Is he going? Is he gone?
Yeah, he's going. He's on a 2-year deal
to the Raiders.
Damn, when did that happen?
A couple days.
Yeah,
yesterday.
Yesterday, I think.
Oh,
Good for the Raiders. They got a good running back. Good for them. And I think it's a chance for him to maybe prove himself to be a number one somewhere in the league.
Maybe the Raiders.
Well, I don't know because the Raiders got Murray, the other Murray over there, and he had a productive year last year. So he's basically going to another spot.
He has a chance to compete now for a starting job because he wasn't getting over Morris.
That's true. I guess I'd agree with you on that.
Maybe that's what he saw, that he has a chance to compete for more of a bigger role, maybe. But I think you guys are going to be good with backup running backs and Silas Red. I think you guys will be fine.
I mean, they could probably change it to all eyes on Griffin because all eyes are on Griffin. Maybe it could be more of a passing than running play instead of a 50-50. I mean, I kind of see it that way. Morris had a down year, but I would like to see him go back to the way he was. Like, what was it? 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns. I would love to see that happen again. RG3, I would love to see him compete and do big things and everything. Yeah, we got to wait and see to what else we can get. Maybe we can get a couple key steals in the free agency.
Brad, your thoughts on your team's off-season free agency moves so far?
First of all, I get so pissed at some of the idiotic things that my organization tends to do when it comes to free agency. So I'm so happy that they've laid low this year. Extremely happy they have. One other thing I love is that Philadelphia is taking us out of the limelight. Now everyone's eyes are going to be like, Philly lost all these players. They've completely almost reloaded. All the eyes are going to be on Philly. People aren't going to be talking about RG3, aren't going to be talking about all of our relationships with our coaches and all this stuff. I'm sure it's gonna float up a little bit, but in terms of what really is going to be talked about in the NFC East next year, it's going to be Philadelphia. It's going to be the Eagles. All eyes are turned on them. So really, I'm happy that we've just kind of stayed quiet, addressed some needs that we did need, which was defensive line, and now we can really attack the draft. In a way that we've appropriately addressed free agency, and now we can go after things in the draft. So right now, I'm really liking the moves that our organization has done, and we haven't tried to do flashy things. We're just doing things that are necessary. So I'm actually really happy with what we've done in free agency. I know it doesn't seem big to a lot of observers because there was no massive, huge name signings, but we did address some needs, and one thing we didn't do was throw money at something that isn't going to work. So I'm happy with our free agency so far.
How can I forget? We really didn't talk about one of the biggest moves on right at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, and that was Jimmy Graham going to the Seahawks for a first-round pick. I mean, I've seen so many people say, just give the trophy to the Seahawks. Russell Wilson finally has a go-to guy he can rely on. He's been missing that since he got in the NFL. I mean, he has Nate Burlew, he has all these receivers, but he never had a true go-to guy. And now
solid one.
Yeah. Now the Seahawks want to pass on the 1-yard line in the Super Bowl, they can go to Jimmy Graham now. They can do that now. Now I don't feel bad. But I mean, he finally has a true number one, and I feel like the Seahawks, this makes them the team to beat in the NFL. I mean, yeah, they may have lost, Maxwell, but they signed Corey Williams from the Eagles. Another team I'm bitter about because the Titans were going for him too. But anyway, getting bitter about all these people stealing guys. See, that's what happens when your organization's horrible for the past 3 years. No free agents want to come to you. Sorry. Anyway.
It's funny. I was listening to the radio show that's on in the afternoon here on 99.1 or 106.7.
The Fan.
The Fan.
Love that show.
And the disc jockey was saying, okay, let's put together a list of reasons why these NFL free agents would want to come to DC. And he was like, let's see, horrible owner. He's like, snowstorm blizzards in March. He's like humidity that's crazy in the summertime. He's like, you know what? And he asked for callers to like call in to add to the list, and it was just the entire list was just like, oh man.
Have we mentioned bad taxes if you want to live in Montgomery County, like Potomac, traffic?
Right.
The list, dirty water.
Right. He said
the list goes on.
He said prima donna quarterback. It was so funny. I just thought it was amusing.
Well, I also want to go to Ryan Clark. Even mentioned something about our quarterback situation.
Oh yeah,
saying that RG3 is not John Gruden's guy or Jay Gruden's quarterback at the spot right now.
You got to think when you're a new head coach coming in, you sometimes want to get your own guy. You want your quarterback. I mean, he had to change his whole system because obviously RG3 and Andy Dalton aren't the same guys.
No.
And they were trying to bring Gruden in to maybe coach him up, but I think RG3 is so stubborn to what he wants to do that he won't want to listen to anyone else. But we can get into that at a different time. Talk about free agency. Enough RG3 talk. I thought we just thought the Eagles took everything away from that until they draft Mariota. Then it'll be all back on the Redskins.
Here it is.
According to John, we'll talk about that with the draft. I couldn't believe I heard that.
Mm.
But back to Jimmy Graham. I mean, I tell you what, somehow the Seahawks could maybe sign or trade or sign a true number one receiver. Like I thought they were going to try to make a play for Andre Johnson. Also, the Patriots were going to try to make a play for him, but didn't even talk about that. The Colts. But I feel like if the Seahawks could get a number one receiver, I feel like that offense would be unstoppable. I mean, you'd have number one receiver, a number one tight end, number one running back. It's like they're going to put all of them on the field and say, "Here you go, come after us. Who do you want to stop? You want to put 8 in the box? All right, we'll throw over the top to Graham or our number one receiver. You want to double team our number one receiver? All right, cool. Drop sits in the defensive field. We'll run the ball with Marshawn Lynch." So I think that's what they're really missing there. And speaking of Andre Johnson, what about the Colts? They just loaded up, I think, this year as well. I mean, you already have T.Y. Hilton. Now you had Andre Johnson. You add Frank Gore. I mean, they haven't had a solid running back, I believe, since Edgerrin James left that team. I don't think they really had anyone that has come out and said, "Hey, look, I'm the running back of this team. I'm going to run for 1,000 yards." They haven't had that. Trent Richardson, that turned out to be a huge bust. That trade turned out to be horrible. They just released him today. I mean, you lose Reggie Wayne. That's horrible. But you got to think they're going to put out Andrew Luck. They're going to put out Frank Gore, Dwayne Allen, Kobe Fleener, T.Y. Hilton, Andre Johnson. I mean, like the Seahawks all new now offense. Who do you guard? You put 2 tight end set and a 2 wide receiver set. All your DBs are going to have to cover. It's going to be one-on-ones out there. There ain't going to be no double teams.
Well, and they have Moncrief, who really started coming to his own rookie wide receiver.
They're
last year as well.
I mean, I don't know if their defense still is good enough to make a run yet for the playoffs, but I feel like for the Super Bowl, I feel maybe they're a year or two away if they can get a solidified secondary because they just signed Trent Cole as well. Mm-hmm. If they can get a better secondary, there's no reason Andrew Luck can't make a Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 years. I mean, there's no reason. They just need to bulk up that secondary and that defense, and this team will give the Patriots a run for their money. By the way, if anyone out there who does one-day fantasy leagues like FanDuel or DraftKings, I recommend when the Colts play the Texans, you just start Andre Johnson both games. I feel like he's going to make that team pay. So what are your guys' thoughts on the Colts? Like, do you all feel like they can make a run against the Patriots or the Broncos this year for the AFC, or do you think maybe they're a couple of years away? Brad, you first on the Colts.
Well, before the Colts, let me jump to Jimmy Graham. I didn't really get a chance to say anything about Jimmy Graham. I think that's a great acquisition for Seattle, but that's not who they are. Seattle is a running team. Like, it's great that they picked up Jimmy Graham. What are they going to do? Not give the ball to Marshawn Lynch? It's ridiculous. I think it's a waste. I think the Saints made out on that like crazy because that's not like who the Seattle Seahawks are. They are, we're going to punch you in the face for a little bit, and then we're going to scheme you with some read option stuff and try and pass a little bit. They're not a passing team. Jimmy Graham is going to get frustrated in that system because he won't be used at all. That simply just isn't them. And I mean, the Saints getting a first round pick and a couple other conditional picks. I think the Saints made out big time in comparison to Seattle, simply because Seattle doesn't need a tight end because they went to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row, two years in a row with a mediocre passing system. Like, why did they need Jimmy Graham? Like, that isn't their identity. So I think the Saints really made out on that trade over Seattle. And Shipe talking Super Bowl, sure, maybe only because of Marshawn Lynch, not because of Jimmy Graham, because they don't pass the ball. Like, they don't need him.
But here's the thing. You know what I think would be a great play for them to run? Is they like to run that bootleg a lot. Now, if you run the bootleg, you put Graham out on the same side as Wilson. You have that one linebacker cornerback that's on Graham running with them. Cornerback's got to decide whether you come up or then you have to leave Graham open. So I think there's a lot of plays I think they can do now with Graham that you said they've done before, but I think they could be more effective now with Jimmy. Okay. To where if you put Jimmy out in the flats and you roll out Wilson, now the guy on Graham has to decide whether do I stay on Graham or do I go to Wilson. I feel like you can utilize that maybe a little bit.
Yeah, but Graham isn't the best tight end with the ball in the open field. What Graham is so good at is that he can target the ball high in the air. He's got a basketball background, and so this dude goes up and gets the ball. It's not like he's not like Hernandez. I know he hasn't been in the league in years, but he's not like Hernandez where you try and give him the rock and he's basically a wide receiver once he gets the ball in open space. Like Jimmy Graham is a big target that you throw the ball near and he's going to secure the catch. It's not like, we need to get him the ball, and as soon as we can get him the ball, magic is going to happen. Like Jimmy Graham is a dude you streak down the middle of the field and you just throw it near him and you say, go make a play. Like it's not like they need to, kind of get him on bootlegs. What they need to do is get him on seam routes, hike. We're going to throw a 20-yard little seam route right down the middle, go up and get it. The safety's going to come over and crack you.
Wilson's never had that, though. He's never had a wide receiver. This is where I think it'll make a big difference that he finally had someone that can do that. He's never had that.
But I'm going to disagree because that's not their identity. Like, their identity isn't that. Their identity is give it to beast mode, and then we're going to run a bootleg. Like, their identity is not we're going to let Russell Wilson stand there and throw. Their identity is we're going to get him moving. We're going to get him out. We're going to run the ball. We're going to trick you. We're going to manipulate you. We're not going to stand in the pocket and do these things. And if they do that, I think it's going to be destructive for them. I think if they want to stay successful, they need to stick to their identity, which is play hard defense and run the football. The second they try and get cute with all this passing, nope, I think it's going to hurt them.
Well, here's my counter argument to it is that they've been running that offense for the past 2 years to where teams should finally be able to realize what to do against the offense to where if you change it up, now you have to prepare for not only the pass and the run instead of just concentrating on Lynch. Now you have another guy on the field you have to worry about. So, couldn't that help them out a little bit to where now you have someone else that you have to worry about, another playmaker just besides Lynch? You have another playmaker where it's like, oh, God, I can't put all the focus on Lynch. Now I have to look at Jimmy Graham on this side, It's another playmaker to make teams think about it. Maybe that's what they use him for, to make them think about Jimmy Graham to where you can't pile the bots down because if you do, Graham's going to get open down the seam. So now you're going to have to respect their passing game more than what teams did in the past.
I do see that, and I understand that. I just wonder how much Jimmy Graham is going to want to stand in there and continue blocking and not running routes and not getting targeted.
Well, we'll find out come September.
We will.
Because I'm pretty sure whatever they want to do, they're not going to show in the preseason.
No, of course not.
We won't see anything until regular season. Guillermo, what are your thoughts on Jimmy?
I think it was huge. Right off the bat, when I saw the tweet or the message and everything, I was like, I'll just give them the Super Bowl. It's going to make them so much better, but at the same time, they are a running offense. They brought back Marshawn Lynch for a reason. They need his running game. They need him to push it down the field, and then if an occasional goal line situation, they'll give it to Graham. But yeah, you look at his season last year. He had a lot of drop balls that he could have caught and everything. He had a couple of games where he had less than 30 yards, maybe. He had a couple games, game streak of no touchdowns at all. His head wasn't mentally in it for some reason. I don't know why. And he had Drew Brees, one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and for him to be dropping passes from him, you got Russell Wilson, who's going to continue to play, so he's going to be running all over the place. Is he going to be able to catch it? If that's the case, is he going to be able to run after if he's been running around for so long? I think it's going to be a big threat on the field, but at the same time, I don't know if, like how Brad said, if he's going to be used the right way. And yeah, expect the ball to be given to Marshawn Lynch. Kurtz did awesome there. You got Lockett, who was there as well. You got the new receiver that beasted out in playoffs. I forgot his name.
Not the playoffs, mostly the Super Bowl.
Or Super Bowl, yeah, but he had a couple. I think the game before against the Packers, I believe he had a good game.
He had a couple of big catches there against Packers towards the end.
And then you got Baldwin as well. You still have the same players from last year still there. With Jimmy Graham, big threat, yeah, but we got to see what he can do. I mean, how's that system going to play for him?
I'm just saying, fellas, take a look at the Redskins in 2012. We were a run-oriented team. We had the best rushing offense in the NFL between Alfred Morris and RG3. And then we picked up a couple targets and we decided we were going to start passing. How'd that work out for us? I know we don't have the defense that Seattle had, but I'm just saying, like, offensively, that was not our identity. Our identity was running the football. Then we tried to go to this passing identity, and it wasn't us. And I'm worried if Seattle thinks Jimmy Graham needs the rock, Jimmy Graham needs the rock. That is not their identity. So, like, I think it's great that they picked him up, and it makes sense if they can find a way to utilize him. But I'm worried if they try and force the ball to him too much, it's going to get away from who they are. And I think it will be actually destructive versus constructive.
I think if they make the playoffs, I'm not going to say they're not, but if they make the playoffs again, he could really impact in the playoffs. I mean, look at the Super Bowl. They really didn't have a tight end there. I mean, Wilson had a couple catches and everything, but they saw from the opposite side what Grunk was doing to them. Maybe they needed a key player like Grunk, another Gronkowski-ness in their offensive playbook for them to not worry about Marshawn Lynch getting the ball or Russell Wilson running it down the field or throwing in a deep, lucky Hail Mary to Baldwin or Curse to get the game close or to win the game. Maybe they needed that position package right there of Jimmy Graham to seal the win. Maybe win some games.
All right, guys. Everyone, we're gonna get back to the subject and probably sometime next week, next couple of weeks. I mean, free agency's is gonna keep going until the season starts. We're gonna take a quick break, and on the other side of this break, we're gonna come back and talk NFL draft. We're gonna give you our top 10s and maybe some surprise picks in the first round. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back momentarily.
Hey, this is Paul from the Shipe Sports Talk podcast. Just wanted to let you know how you can listen to our podcast while you're on the go using an app called Stitcher. You can listen anytime, anywhere using the award-winning free Stitcher app. Best part is, when you stream our podcast or any of the other 20,000 available out there, there's no downloading, no syncing, or no wasted memory. It's on demand and on the go. So if you don't already have the Stitcher app on your iPhone, Android phone, or tablet, download it free today at Stitcher.com or from your app store. Add us to your favorites list, and every week when we put out our new episode, Stitcher will automatically update and have the latest episode of the Shipe Sports Talk podcast waiting for you. While you're there, it really helps us get our podcast noticed if you give us a nice review, rating, and thumbs up. We'll greatly appreciate it. Have a comment or question? Easy. Go to ShipeSportsTalk.com, click on the Contact Us tab, and there you'll be able to submit your questions or comments. We love hearing from you, so we'll be sure to thank you live on the air. You'll also find on ShipeSportsTalk.com the latest episodes, show notes, and other ways to find us on platforms like iTunes and YouTube. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to the Shipe Sports Talk show. Quick recap. The Wizards are down after the end of the first quarter to the Memphis Grizzlies 33-26, which I think is not good because the Grizzlies pretty much is sitting everyone on that roster. So the Wizards better get rolling. All right, we're going to jump ship here and go right into the NFL Draft 2015. With a couple of the free agent moves, a lot of these teams' big boards have probably changed. We're going to go ahead and give you our first top 10 picks of the draft, our little mock draft. Also online, that's a couple of days you can catch our entire first round. A little fun thing we're doing between the show. We probably will only get like 2 or 3 right, but it's a fun thing to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off, and I'm gonna go with my top 10 right now. Number 1, I have Tampa Bay will be taking quarterback Jameis Winston from Florida State. 2, the Tennessee Titans will take defensive tackle Leonard Williams from USC. 3, Jacksonville Jaguars will take wide receiver Kevin White from West Virginia to pair him up with Julius Thomas. I have the 4, Oakland Raiders taking wide receiver Amari Cooper from Alabama. 5, we're going to talk about this pick after we do our motts here. I have the Washington Redskins taking offensive tackle Brandon Scherf from Iowa.
What if you guys do like all your 1s and then all your 2s?
You just want to do that?
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
You can keep going. You've already started.
Yeah, you've gone halfway.
All right.
Whatever. I have the New York Jets taking quarterback Marcus Mariota from Oregon. 7, I have Chicago Bears taking outside linebacker Randon Gregory from Nebraska. 8, I have Atlanta taking outside linebacker Shane Ray from Missouri. 9, I have the New York Jets taking Landon Collins, safety from Alabama. And rounding out my top 10, I have St. Louis Rams taking wide receiver Darrell Green Beckham from Missouri to help him to give Nick Foles a reliable wide receiver to start his career in St. Louis. Brad, let's go with your top 10.
Okay, let's see. Number 1, I have Winston going to Tampa Bay. You know, their quarterback situation is such a joke. They're going to have to get that taken care of. Next, I have Williams going to Tennessee, the defensive tackle. Then I have Sheriff going to Jacksonville, offensive line. If they really want Bortles to start developing, they're going to have to protect him. And he was under a lot of duress. And you know, as a rookie, you got to get that taken care of first. If you want to protect your assets, you got to do that. So I got offensive line in Oakland. I think they have a good thing in Derek Carr, and I think they do target a big receiver. I think they go for White out of West Virginia. Number 5, I have Shane Ray going to the Skins. I think we do need to continue to focus on our defense. And I think our offense can come together. We have very good pieces, so hopefully we attack that. And then the Jets, I do have Mario to go into the Jets. They need a lot of quarterback help, and having depth at that position doesn't hurt you. So I have Mario going there. Chicago, they need some defensive help. I have Landon Collins going to Chicago because they have who gets injured. Or who tore their tricep again?
Tillman?
Tillman. Yeah. Tillman's going to be out again, so they're going to need some help. As far as Atlanta goes, they're very, very soft defensively as well. I think they need to target some kind of defensive player, and who I have them taking is the defensive end out of Florida. Is going with Fowler out of Florida, and then for the Giants, they have a lot of needs. One of their biggest needs, I think, is the inconsistency they've had at running back, and I think they take a risk and draft the running back out of Wisconsin. I think the Giants go running back. I know Andre Williams has had decent years, but he's had some games that are good, but he's had some struggles. I think they jump up there, take a risk, and they go running back at number 9. And then the St. Louis Rams, man, they're not missing much. Realistically, the only thing they need is the quarterback, and I think they take a chance and go with Bryce Petty out of Baylor. I think they with
the Foles trade, you still think they'll take a quarterback?
Even with the Foles trade, wow. I think they take him, and he's kind of someone they can develop over the years, with Tavon Austin and with that young defense. So I say they go for it.
You had two big surprise picks there with Gordon Petty, and I like it. You got to think outside the box.
A little bit.
Guillermo, top 10, go.
Winston 1, Leonard Williams 2, Dante Flower from Florida. I got him 3 going with the Jaguars. 4, I was kind of sketchy on this one. I had Kevin White, but I'm also thinking Amari Cooper as well. So I'm just gonna go with the one I wrote down. I got Kevin White from West Virginia at 4, going with the Raiders. I got Randy Gregory, defensive end from Nebraska, going to the Skins. We got Mariota at 6. Jets do need a lot of power and a lot of help in the quarterback situation. I got Danny Shelton, defensive tackle from Washington, going to the Bears. 8, I got Shane Ray, defensive end from Missouri, going to the Falcons. 9, I see an offensive tackle going there just to help out Eli as well. I mean, they could always use another good offensive lineman with Brandon, whatever, Scherf. I don't know how you say it. I can't even
pronounce him. That's a hard name.
Whatever Shipe said. Whatever Shipe
Scherf.
Said. Scherf. And then I got Amari Cooper going to the Rams to help out Foles.
Not bad. I mean, there's some pretty good pits. I mean, Brad's the only one who thought out the bot, so I give him that. All right, let's go ahead and we can discuss the rest of the draft.
I was thinking maybe, because it's happened in the past, a trade or 2 in the top 10.
I'm sure there will be.
There might be 2. I'm calling 2 right now.
All right, let's go ahead. We'll discuss about the rest of the draft, but we're not going to go all of them. We're going to discuss maybe like some little surprise picks that people maybe wouldn't see. and you have Bryce Petty going to St. Louis. I have 2 more quarterbacks going in the first round. That's going to be, I have Petty, but I have him going to Arizona. I feel that, Palmer come back from an ACL. He may not be the same. And let's face it, after Palmer went down, their season just went down. They went from a team that could have possibly even made it to the Super Bowl to nothing, one and done.
Well, yeah, Drew Stanton and Ryan Lindley are just...
They're not, no.
They're nothing.
And who else? Who was the guy from Virginia Tech they had play? Logan Thomas.
Thomas, yeah.
Who got a win, but he had that long touchdown to Ellington. And then the next quarterback I have going is the 31st pick of the draft, which New Orleans got from St. Louis. I have New Orleans taking
from Seattle.
Brett Hundley from UCLA because they've said, like I said earlier, past episodes, they were looking for replacement in Drew Brees. And you already have 2 picks in the first round. You might as well use one on quarterback, start developing him behind Drew Brees because it seems like they're starting to redo that team a little bit. I mean, they've already done it. They did another trade today, so maybe they're trying to start refreshing that team. They got rid of, Pierre Thomas is now gone. So, I mean, they re-signed Ingram, which was big. Mm-hmm. But maybe they draft quarterback to be the successor of Drew Brees. Another, I have Dallas taking a running back. Obviously, I'm taking Todd Gurley from Georgia. And I actually have Melvin Gordon in my draft going 17 to San Diego. They just got rid of Ryan Matthews. I feel like they could use a running back. I had him originally going to Carolina, with getting rid of D'Angelo. Now you have Jonathan Stewart, who hasn't really been that good of a running back for the past couple of years, but I have him going earlier to San Diego. So, I mean, those are my little surprise picks here. Brad, do you have any little ones that jump out beside the Gordon and the Petty pick that you had earlier?
There's one that does stick out to me a little bit, and this is a little bit of a stretch. I have the tight end out of Minnesota going to Dallas. You look at Jason Witten, him starting to age, and how the evolution of the tight end is really growing in the NFL. If Dallas wants to stay competitive, and I know Witten is a very good target, but you look at this tight end out of Minnesota who is athletic, like the league is trending toward. You need a tight end who's athletic, who can make plays, and isn't just your third down target that you go to. You need someone who is kind of a wide receiver type playmaker with a tight end body. So that's a little bit of a jump that I have Dallas making, is because I've heard projections of that kid going second round. As high as second round, but I have him going first round to Dallas, them jumping up and taking him.
It's funny that you mention him because I have him going in the first round myself. I have him going to Green Bay.
Going to Green Bay.
I have him going to Green Bay because I feel like they could also use a tight end.
Yeah, they could.
A proven tight end. I mean, they have, a couple there that, have done it over the years.
They've had it proven, but it's injury.
Like Jermichael Finley, I thought was going to be their problem, was going to be the problem star, but he got hurt. So I actually have Williams going to Green Bay. So we have them both going to the first round. Guillermo, what are your picks that jump out right now that are surprisingly?
Jump out. I actually got just one, and that would be to the Cowboys. I don't think they're gonna go tight end, even though I think that's a nice observation. I think that is pretty good. I mean, Witten is getting at the end of his career. Everybody knows that. I mean, numbers aren't really how they used to be, but
real quick, you two talking about Witten. What about Escobar? I mean, he came in last year. Do you really think do you think he could just be the successor and they don't go tight end? Just
that's what I was thinking. I was thinking Escobar would take that over.
He could. We haven't seen much action from him, which makes me kind of wonder. I think if he was really the playmaker that they were looking for, they would try and implement him more. I do know more. Last year, he got the most action he's ever seen in his career as a pro. But I think if he was that much of a playmaker, I think they would have already started using him a lot more.
All right. So, Guillermo, who's yours then?
I actually got a running back going to the Cowboys. I mean, it might sound funny, but losing Murray and then seeing if Dunbar or Randall can actually put the stuff there, I got Melvin Gordon going there. I mean, he might fall down to the bottom, and then they'll be there. Hey, we lost Murray. Maybe we can pick up Gordon. One of the top 3 running backs there.
Do you have Gurley in the first round at all, or no?
Gurley, I actually do. I have him. I mean, even though they already signed a running back there, I have him going to the Saints from Seattle's pick.
That's not bad. I mean, you lost Pierre Thomas. I mean, so you could bring in someone else for that role. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, there's our little.
I mean, also Ingram hasn't even played. I mean,
a full season.
Yeah, full season at all. Maybe.
He got paid though.
I mean, yeah, he did.
We learned this year a little bit about free agency. Just real quick, there's no home discount this year.
Oh no,
Not at all.
definitely not.
So let's go back to the draft. And recently, John Clayton has come out, ESPN's senior analyst that everyone respects, and has said the Redskins, if Mariota's there at 5, they're going to take him. And, I just read something now on ESPN that's saying, a lot of the high-up people don't really trust Griffin anymore. Now, is that from Scott McLuhan coming in saying he wants his own guy, or do you think really they've given up on Robert Griffin? I mean, you two are fans there. I know you two probably feel passionate about this. I mean, you both just said that the spotlight's off the Redskins on Philly now. Now if they draft Mariota, it's right back on the Redskins again. So, Brad, what are your thoughts on this that came out with John Clayton? And do you think his source is reliable enough to where this could happen?
I think his source is very reliable. John Clayton is extremely credible. So you have to think that what he's hearing isn't just blabber. It is reliable stuff. It's valid information, and I'm not against it in any sort of way. One thing that I think a lot of teams need to start doing a lot more is taking the best player, whether or not you need them at that time, but taking the best player at that moment in the draft. And even if you have Darrelle Revis or DeMarco Murray or LaShawn McCoy, you take a running back, you take a cornerback, because they're the best right now. And if Mariota is there, I think it's fine that we take him and take a chance on him. Whether or not we want to start him right away, it's fine. He doesn't have to. But I like the fact that it may make RG3, start to say, hey, look, they're pulling in someone who, is kind of like me, and he's a little bit of a threat, so I'm going to kick it up a notch. I like the competition that would go into that, because I think it would make him and Mariota both better players. So there's a lot of things about that I like. I like the fact that if he was available, say, hey, look, let's go ahead and do it, because I think it would help in more than one way. I think it would add more depth to the quarterback position, but also I think it would make RG3 want to compete harder and want to be better at his job in order to not lose his job.
Now, Guillermo, I'm going to ask you the same question, but I have another one for Guillermo, and Brad, you can follow us up after Guillermo.
Okay.
If they get Mariota and he starts over RG3 and RG3 is completely, they're like, we're done with him, do you think he would be the biggest bust in the draft? Now, I know Jamarcus Russell went number 1. He was a bust, but for what they gave up for RG3, do you think he could turn out to be one of the biggest busts in this draft since, like, would he be in the category of, like, Jamarcus Russell and Ryan Leaf? Would he be in that same category, or no, because he did go to the playoffs? I mean, you gave up so much, and now you could be done with him after 3 years. So, Guillermo, first, your thoughts on what you think about Mario, and second, do you think this could be the biggest bust ever if Griffin's done after 3 years with what they gave up for him?
With the Mariota draft pick, I mean, pick him up, fine, great. I mean, learn the system. I mean, RG3 didn't learn the system as well, but you pick him up, but we still have problems on the defense. I mean, you can pick up a quarterback. Yeah, he was good and everything. They said at his pro day that his arm was okay and got good feet and everything. But, I mean, he's a system quarterback. No quarterback has learned the system. I mean, we've gone through however many quarterbacks in 5 years or 6 years. They just can't get it down. I'm all for it. I think RG3's time is at the end of the wire. Yeah, like I said, I'm all for it. Let's see what he can do. If not, then we can try to trade bait him, do something with him. But he, like Brad did say, it's putting a fire under RG3 where he's thinking, I'm on my last shot. Last year coming in on my contract, do they want me back? I have to perform. I have to do this to them. I have to show them that I wasn't a complete waste. Going to your next question, I think he automatically sets a different level of a bust. I mean, yeah, he went to the playoffs and everything. Looking into the history of his injury in college, they took a risk on him. This is what the risk is. He has another injury. He snapped his ankle. He's not performing the way that they wanted him to. After everything they've given up to get him, yeah, I think he surpasses Ryan Leaf and Jamarcus Russell because they were at the spot already. They weren't trying to move up and try to get them and everything. They gave up, I believe, a couple first rounders and a second rounder, and it just disbanded in 3 years, less than 3 years. And yeah, I think he's complete. He'll be one of the highest or the highest bust in NFL draft history.
Brad, what are your thoughts on the busts of Robert Griffin if this happens?
I would probably put him top 10, but nowhere near the disappointment that Jamarcus Russell was. I mean, they paid him number $1 and he won them maybe 2 football games over 3 years. I mean, it is not even close. Jamarcus Russell was a complete bust. He was a complete waste of money. They cut him after like 3 years and they still were paying him tons, millions of dollars. He by far is the number 1 bust. Leaf has to be up there as well, but RG3 won us a division championship. You know, yeah, we gave up a lot to get him, but he did it. You know, he went there, he took care of business. Everything we wanted out of him, we got like right away. It's unfortunate that he had a injury history, and kind of an injury-plagued career to this day. But no, I don't think he's a bust because he did step in right away and won us that title. You do look at players like Jamarcus Russell or like Ryan Leaf, who virtually did nothing, and David Carr, who virtually did nothing, like absolutely nothing, barely even won football games.
I think what killed David Carr the most was because he probably came out on an expansion team. It's probably a little bit harder.
Well, sure, but I'm not putting the blame necessarily solely on David Carr. I'm talking about body of work.
Yeah,
like you
Tim
look at
Couch.
Yeah, Tim Couch, exactly. You look at the body of work of these guys versus RG3, and RG3 has won way more games. You know, he's been way more successful. You know, in my opinion, it's not even close. He still is. You know, depending on if you got him out of the NFL right now, then sure, you would probably still say he's a top 10 bust, but not anywhere near number 1. Jamarcus Russell, in my opinion, is just that is the number 1 bust.
All right, so let's say the Skins do draft Mariota.
Mm-hmm.
Does RG3 stay? Do they trade him?
Trade.
I mean,
you can't keep them both.
All right, if you had to trade RG3, what would the Redskins be able to get for RG3?
3 or 4, if that. Because you got to think of other teams. It's health issues now with RG3. He has that ACL injury. He has an ankle. I mean, yeah, an ankle heals, but an ankle can also become fragile after something like that because it broken once. What to say won't broke again? His ACL, he's had twice. I don't think you can get a first or second round for RG3. I'm sorry, he's not a Jimmy Graham. He's not. Jimmy Graham maybe not even been worth a first, but I don't think he's worth the first or second round. I think possibly a 3 or 4, and that's why I also think Kirk Cousins is probably a 4 or 5. So you can't keep both because you keep both, you're going to cause problems in that locker room.
No,
that locker room,
stupid.
That locker room will be divided between
both.
RG3 and Mariota, and you can't have that. I mean, do you really want Mariota to come in and feel that players don't want him there because RG3 is already there? I mean, you're going to have to trade RG3. I mean, it's going to either be him or you trade Mariota after you draft him to try to get more draft picks. I mean, on draft day, if they get Mariota, one of those guys will be gone.
What are the actual chances that Mariota ends up in Washington?
I really think it all depends what Tennessee does.
Yeah, because Tennessee is the other team that needs quarterback. I mean, even though they got a quarterback, but I believe it could still...
Sorry, I believe in Mettenberger. As a Tennessee Titan fan, they need to give Mettenberger a shot. I think he has the body type of a quarterback. I believe he has the arm strength. I mean, this guy was a 3rd or 4th round projected pick last year until, that knee injury in the last game of the season to where he dropped. And I felt like in the 6th round, that was a steal to draft for the Titans that they got him. As a Tennessee fan, I really want Williams. I want to pair someone with Casey on that line and to where, you guys don't like him, but Arakpo has been in Tennessee for the past 2 days in Nashville. I would love to have Arakpo on my team because when he was healthy, Arakpo was a force to reckon with. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think he had a 10-sack season. Yeah. And I asked Brad this, and he even said if Arakpo would come in and be healthy for my team and get double-digit sets, he'd be bitter. And I think most Redskins fans would be like, where was this the past 2 seasons for us? I mean, you go to Tennessee, and you're going to be healthy and get double-digit sets, really, Arakpo? I would love to have Arakpo. And I would love to put him on that, and I would love, James Harrison has been reported going to us. And so I want defensive players because our run defense was god-awful. I mean, we got torched by Murray like most of the league. I mean, Alfred Morris ran all over us. I mean, you saw what Pierre Garçon did against us. I mean, our cornerback looked like a fool on that one play where he just went off the sidelines. I'll admit, you guys torched our secondary. Deshaun Jackson, that final drive, just obliterated our cornerback on that side. Jason McCourty looked like a rookie. So, I mean, I feel like we need to draft Williams. I don't think Mariota is a priority for us to where I think you guys will have that opportunity because obviously Jacksonville and Oakland aren't going to draft him. They got their quarterbacks.
Yeah, they're fine.
So it's going to come down to where if the Redskins don't pick him, then Mariota's going to the Jets. So, I mean, you could see a situation where the Jets may try to trade with Tennessee to move up to 2 to get him. If the Jets feel like this enough, so I mean,
maybe. Yeah.
So maybe even Oakland or Jacksonville could take advantage of this situation and be like, hey, look, you heard the situation about the Redskins. You want Mariota. We'll exchange picks, but we're going to want your second or third round as well. So not only does this benefit the Redskins to maybe get potential draft partners, but also everyone else in front of them. Because if you're sitting in Jacksonville or Oakland, you're thinking to yourself, hey, the Redskins have said this. Let me call the GM for the Jets. Hey, yeah, the Redskins said they're going to take him. What do you want for my pick to get Mariota?
Yeah, sure. It's a lot of leverage.
So this helps a lot of other teams. So the Redskins not only helped themselves, but they helped out everyone in front of them, except for Tampa Bay, because they're obviously going to take Winston. So I think this whole thing with Mariota and the Redskins has really changed this whole draft to where we may see a pick swap. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. This whole draft, I think, will be interesting. This whole NFL offseason, I think, has been the best offseason we ever had. I mean, this almost felt like an MLB offseason.
It's been wild.
It's been great. I mean, I love it. I mean, we'll have more to talk about in next coming up episodes. I mean, unfortunately, it's all the time we have today. We're going to keep this going. Next week, though, we're going to get right into NCAA tournament. Next week, we're going to be on Thursday. The time our show starts, we're going to have a lot of the first part of the. Not yet. Not yet.
We're not in it. Keep going.
All right. You got the music going on. My producer, Paulie. So next week, we're going to talk about some NCAA basketball. Like I said, the first couple games will have already been going on. So we're going to talk about those games, and we're going to review the rest of the tournament. We're going to give you all how the World Cup has the group of death. We're going to talk about the region of death and which number 1 seed, could possibly be knocked out. Because the past couple of years, we've been averaging number 1 seed knocked out in the second round.
Who would be that Cinderella team?
Who could be the Cinderella team? Which number 1 seed could be knocked out early? We're going to go over that. We'll give you our national championship picks. We're not going to talk about all our picks because obviously, I like to say, you still have time to sign up for the Shipe Sports Talk NCAA Tournament Challenge. I've been posting on the page. It'll be on the Twitter. Please sign up. If you can beat us, if you can beat us to be number 1 the whole tournament, you will come on the show, be a guest. We don't provide airfare or hotel fees, so if you're not out of state, you'll be Skyped. And also, if one of us would get first place somehow, whoever finishes the top that's a fan will win it for the fans. So we're also going to have a fan tournament and then a little competition between us, so we'll see what happens. See if you guys are smarter than us. Also, I still have 2 more spots left for the Fantasy Baseball League. Let me know if you want in. So I'm going to have Paul talk about everything else for us to where you can find where we're at.
All right. So you can pick us up on Stitcher or iTunes. If you have an Apple device or Android device, you can load the Stitcher app on your phone and you can just favorite the show and you'll be able to listen to us, any of the old podcasts, and every single new one will be updated automatically. It's a great way to just enjoy the show if you're on the go at work or whatever the case may be. So that's Stitcher and or iTunes. And while you're there, if you do happen to run across us on Stitcher or iTunes, just leave us a comment, a review, and a rating. That would be awesome. That actually helps the show tremendously. Gain some promotion on Stitcher and iTunes. So what else? So we got Twitter, which is at Shipe Sports Talk. Email, shipesportstalk@gmail.com. Send us or tweet us your questions for next week's show. We'll be happy to address them live on the air. And the website, www.shipesportstalk.com.
You got it. First try.
There you'll find all our past episodes, and you'll be able to get links to the up-and-coming shows as well, the YouTube URLs and that sort of thing. Also, on the website, there's a Contact Us tab that you could send in your questions if you don't know how to use Twitter or email.
On my note, this show would not be possible without my Uncle Paul. So all of us here, the hosts, we all want to give Paul a thank you. Without you, he runs the website, he runs the iTunes, Stitcher. I mean, he runs everything. Without Paul, this show wouldn't be possible. So thank you.
Right on.
So for myself, for Guillermo.
Okay, hold on. Can I play the music now?
Yeah, you can play the music. Thank you, Brad, for coming back in studio. Next week, you're going back to, where are you going to?
Tennessee.
Back to Tennessee. Go Titans.
You're the only 10 I see, Shaq.
Okay, things just got weird. All right, so for myself.
It's good to end it weird.
Yeah. So for myself, Guillermo, Brad, my producer, Uncle Paul, thank you for listening. Tune in next Thursday, 6:45 p.m. We'll go back to our original time.
As long as there's no blizzard or hurricane.
Why would you even say that, Paul? Why would you even say that?
Rainstorm.
I can finally drive my windows down. All right, everyone. Thank you. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend. And look out for more free agency moves and championship week.
Yep.